Hello and welcome into One-on-One Nightly. This is New York's longest-running sports call-in show, and we are so happy that you are here with us. It is Wednesday. It is February 9th. I am Brian Raybacks, and I'm joined alongside Will Grant. Will, how are you feeling tonight?
I'm feeling good. We got a big game Sunday that I'm excited to talk about later. But for now, I think we're going to jump into our New York basketball teams, which have recently been suffering. And I don't know. I don't know if you have any ideas of how to fix it. I know I do. But I'm excited for this show.
Well, yeah, we got a tough situations there. I'm all tongue-tied already. And, we got a lot to talk about, a lot to cover. We're live on Twitter and YouTube. We'll be taking you until 10 p.m. tonight. And, yeah, we got a lot going on. NBA trade deadlines tomorrow. I mean, there's a lot that can still kind of happen, particularly with Brooklyn. I mean, where's James Harden going to go? Is he going to go anywhere? I don't know. But trade deadline tomorrow, that's always exciting.
Indeed, very exciting. I think right now Philly's the front runner, and I don't know about you, but I'd really like to see Ben Simmons back on the hardwood because he's a good player. I know you're saying you're very reluctant because the trade that's proposed right now is with your team, and
Sure.
You do not want to see Ben Simmons go to the Barclays and perhaps spoil your team's season or taint whatever they have going on right now. But right now, they are not doing too well. So maybe they need a much-needed spark to start something up again. Because what are they, 1-9 in their last 10 games?
No, they're actually they're 0-9 in their last 9. It's been a rough stretch. So we'll get into all about the Nets in a matter of moments. We also got a bunch of trades going on in the NBA already. CJ McCollum's been dealt to the Pelicans. They have the Sabonis trade with the Kings. That's a big one. We'll get into a lot of All-Star Game action, too, with the All-Star Game coming up. And then NFL Pro Bowl, that was quite a debacle on Sunday. And then we'll talk about a couple coaching hires in the NFL as well. And, of course, it's Super Bowl week, so you got to talk about the Super Bowl. And that'll be a great game on Sunday. We all can't wait for it. I can't wait for it, so we'll dabble in a little bit with it tonight. But as we mentioned, we're going to start off with the Brooklyn Nets, and they've been a disaster recently. And I don't know if you caught any of the game last night, Will, but it was really hard to watch. First of all, this is all you really need to know. The Celtics started the game up 28-2. I mean, that's as bad as it gets right there. I mean, the Nets come into the season as this huge championship contender powerhouse, and all of a sudden they are getting trounced at home by the Celtics, and the final score ended up being 126-91, so the Nets lose by 35. And now, obviously, the hard thing about the loss, especially last night, is that you have to factor into that, take into account that the Nets, they are missing, you could argue, 6 of their most important players. I mean, Kevin Durant, James Harden, Kyrie for obvious reasons, Joe Harris, Nick Claxton, and LaMarcus Aldridge all were not on the floor last night, and now Brooklyn has fallen to the 8th seed, and just the second you think things can't keep getting worse and worse for the Nets, it just keeps getting worse, and it's like spiraling out of control, and they've now fallen to the 8th seed. So I got to ask you, Will, I'm going to ask a simple question. What's wrong with this team?
Well, I think it's pretty obvious in what you stated before. I mean, you can't really assess this team when they don't have 5 of their most important 5 on the floor. They have 3 superstars right now that aren't playing currently, and if they were playing together, I am sure they would not be the 8th seed. Right now, the Heat are leading in the East. They are killing it at 35-20. Bucks right behind them, 35-21 with like a half game behind, and the Bulls too, they're on fire. Cleveland also, but the Nets at one point were taking the East by storm. It was their conference for the taking, and right now they're on the brink of not making the playoffs, and I'm not sure how this happened, but like I explained before, these guys can't always be playing together, and it's really going to take a toll on them in the later part of the season if this keeps on continuing. This is a common trend that all 3 of these guys are not going to be able to play together. We know the Kyrie situation and all that, but it's very hard when you just can't have what you paid for go on the court every night and do their thing.
Well, yeah, obviously this is not the team that the Nets were bargaining for at the start of the season. You weren't bargaining for, Bruce Brown to be playing the most minutes out of anybody on the floor last night. And then you got guys like James Johnson, DeAndre Bembry, Blake Griffin's playing a significant role. And it's just been a mess. And
it's very sad when the promo you see for the games. I I saw last night, it was a picture of Jason Tatum next to Patty Mills, and that was a funny sight because it's like yeah, Patty Mills, their best player tonight. This isn't going to be too great of a game.
And I was actually looking at like ticket prices last night, and there's some pretty cheap Nets tickets right now. So if you're looking to go to a Nets game, you're looking to go to the Barclays Center, there are tickets. I think for a game against the Celtics, I saw it was like $25.
I've been told that they were trying to pay people to go to the game.
Yeah, I mean,
No,
who would want to watch this team right now?
I know it's horrendous. It's like watching I'd rather watch Fordham U at the Rose Hill Gym.
Yeah, absolutely.
Honestly,
I mean, credit to those guys. Those guys can ball. But
yeah, those guys are playing well.
The Nets, I mean, losers of 9 straight, and now I think the big storyline with the Nets, the trade deadline's tomorrow, and we talked about this a little bit in the intro, and it can't be ignored that James Harden has been that name has been heavily thrown around in trade talks, and particularly with the Philadelphia 76ers, the division rival. So the Sixers have been rumored to be interested in James Harden for a really long time. Ever since he was trying to get traded from Houston, they were interested in him, and now they're really pushed for him to get him from Brooklyn. But Steve Nash says they're not trading him. But now today, a couple of reports point out that James Harden might be dealt, and honestly, it's all up in the air. But the fact that James Harden, he's been sitting recently, and you'd have to think that he's in discussion, and just simply put, do you think he's getting traded by tomorrow? I don't know.
I think there's a very good chance we see him on another team tomorrow.
I think so.
This is a very different situation. Let's say if he goes to Philly, a very different situation than Ben Simmons, because Ben Simmons, in one way or another, was basically pushed out of the city by the neglect from the fans and all the hate. But I don't see that going on with James Harden right now. I think it's just he'd be a better fit somewhere else, and it's not as many people say in a relationship. It's not you. It's me. So if you think about it that way, it's a good shaking hand by James Harden. I hope you do well in another spot. But right now, I'm not sure how Net fans were going to react to the fact that Ben Simmons could potentially be on their team starting next week. As a Nets fan yourself, Brian, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I can tell you that I don't want Ben Simmons really anywhere near the Brooklyn Nets, because
fair enough.
The last time we saw Ben Simmons, it was a disaster performance in the playoffs, and just really embarrassing. And he obviously hasn't returned since then, and hasn't played a game for the Sixers all season, as we know. So yeah, it's a tough one, and that would be an interesting guy to bring in, especially given his lack of playoff success, and we assume that's where the Nets are going to be. And you can say one thing about the Philly fans, they've been extremely harsh to him, but you're going from Philly to New York, so it's not exactly you're coming into the promised land where everyone loves you. If you mess up in New York, they will let you hear about it.
Yeah.
And yeah, so
I think the Simmons situation is it's a bit of a two-sided coin. I think that if he comes here, I think there's definitely an upside with the fact that he is not a person who's going to want to shoot the ball and put it in the cup. And luckily enough, you have Kevin Durant, one of the best scorers of all time, not even in the league right now, of all time, on your team, who will take any shot he needs to. We saw that in the playoffs last year when he was clutch, hit that shot. If it weren't for his big foot, they would have went on to the next round. Sorry to bring that up right now, Brian. But the other side of the coin, which is actually very, very harsh, and it's a very likely possibility. He's not great for the locker room. Did you see him in those videos where he didn't even want to put his hand up in the Philly team huddle at the end of practice? I mean, what is this? What are you doing?
Yeah,
you're on a team. You're on an organization. You're getting paid money. You gotta show some respect to your teammates. Your teammates aren't the one that are booing you every night. Those are the Philly fans. They are just as ridiculous as New Yorkers in terms of, one night you're not going to do this, and then we're going to go, oh, you're no good. But on other nights, you're my sweet prince.
Yeah, well, with the James Harden rumors going on, the Nets, it's tough with the Ben Simmons deal, but they're interested in other pieces too. Like I was looking last night, they're interested in Danny Green. And, I'll read this kind of excerpt from CBS Sports. So Green would be quite valuable as a role player for the Nets. And, he's a big defensive guard, but he can actually shoot the three ball. And that's kind of what the Nets need right now, considering, you have Kevin Durant out and, Kyrie is playing half the games. Joe Harris has been hurt. So when Kevin Durant comes back, you would think that maybe adding another 3-point shooter would actually be beneficial. And I think the way I look at this, Danny Green could be, a valuable piece to the Nets, assuming even for Danny Green, you don't even have to trade a guy like James Harden.
Well, you're right. If you guys can get a 3-point shooter, I think it would be very, very good for you guys' team. Just the fact that you guys are shooting 11 threes a game, it's not too low, or making 11 threes a game, excuse me. But it's not too low, but it's not great. If you got Danny Green in there, he'll put up 3 or 4 a night. I mean, he's an old guy, but he's experienced, and I think that if you got him right now, mid-season, he could be definitely an excellent building block to going far in the playoffs. And I know that's what you guys want to do.
That's what this team is built for. When you brought in Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, it was all for making sure that we make the Nets a championship caliber team. And then, obviously, when you bring in James Harden, you're putting all your chips to the center of the table. You're going all in. And, it's safe to say that it hasn't exactly turned out the way everyone expected it to. Even last year, it was essentially a fait accompli that the Nets were just going to run away with the East and then just take the finals. And then obviously that didn't happen. They lost in the East semis to the Bucks. Granted, we have the Kyrie injury and the Harden injury last year too. So there was a lot dealing with that, and now they're dealing with a lot more this season. Kevin Durant's hurt now, and obviously the Kyrie situation, which the Nets couldn't have predicted going in.
Oh, no way. It's the most unpredictable thing in sports,
right?
With this entire, COVID thing as a whole. And the fact that they are spending, so much money on him and he's playing a little less than half the games, it's devastating for a team like that. The Nets just moved over to Brooklyn, and you want to see them do well. We had that big break for them when they got Garnett, Paul Pierce, and it just didn't work out. But now they're trying to do it again, and I really think that they're this close. But the fact that COVID and all this vaccine stuff came up with Kyrie, it's essentially, what are you going to do? You know?
Well, let me read you this. Kyrie Irving, so the Nets have 28 games left, and Kyrie Irving is only eligible to play in 10 of them.
Wow.
In 10 of them. So.
Oh, man, and you guys are the 8th seed right now?
They're the 8th seed right now, and who knows if James Harden's still going to be there and when Kevin Durant's coming back. It's a tough situation with the Nets, and I don't think anyone really saw this amount of struggling and a lot of concern coming at the start of the season.
Nets future holders, I'm very sorry. I could never have predicted this. It's unbelievable that a team like this could be behind the Cavaliers by, 4 games?
I'm looking now. Yeah,
well, granted, the Cavs
it's 4 games. Yeah.
Cavs are very good, and the Celtics are creeping up slowly, too. A lot of people counted out the Celtics early in the East this year, I think about 3 weeks ago. They were a lot lower, but now they are creeping their way back in. You can't let the Jays, you can't let the Jays get away from your mindset, as I like to say.
I mean, the Celtics got off to certainly a rocky start, but now they're one of the hottest teams in the NBA. They're winners of 6 straight, and obviously just put a beating on the B squad of the Nets last night. And the Nets have a tough hill to climb. And the interesting thing about the Nets not doing well and, being the 8th seed is that, there's the joke that they're playing for home court disadvantage because you have Kyrie only being able to play road games, and then you have him for 4 road games of a series. Like,
wow, I never thought about it that way.
It's an interesting theory that people are kind of piecing together, and I kind of like it. But at the same time, you have to get there, and if the season ended right now, the Nets would be in the play-in tournament. So that's not a guarantee to put you into the playoffs. But the key for the Nets, it's obviously just getting your players back. And if James Harden isn't going to be traded, then get James Harden healthy, get Kyrie for as much as you can, and get Kevin Durant back. But the Nets, it's been a struggle for them. And also on the other side of town, it hasn't been much better. So we'll move on to the Knicks. The Knicks, they're losers of 7 of their last 8 and 10 of their last 12. It hasn't been very good as of late, and they lost to the Nuggets last night by 17 points, and they've dropped all the way to the 12th seed in the East. So the Knicks, they've also been having a lot of discussion regarding the trade deadline, but to me, can the Knicks do anything to save their season? Probably not.
Well, one thing that I've read today so many times, countless times, the only player untouchable on the Knicks is R.J. Barrett, and I'm frankly fine with that. But honestly, when you think about who they can give away, it's kind of tough.
That's it.
It's very tough because there's not many pieces that teams are looking to grab. Julius Randle right now, his stock is probably the lowest it's been in a while. He's averaging 19, 10, and 5 this season. Last season, he was an all-star, putting up 24, 10, and 6. And you got Mitchell Robinson, who's a huge key, averaging 8, 8, and 1.5 blocks. Those three, I think they're the very, very core of the team. And if you're not willing to give RJ away, then what can you really get? I like Fournier. I like Burks. They're good players. And I like our young momentum that's going on. We got Obi. IQ can really command a team. He can show other young guys that that are coming up, like Grimes and McBride, how it's done. And the acquisition of Cam Reddish too. I mean, you got a lot of young core in there, and giving Julius Randle away is not the worst thing in the world. He is on a 4-year, $117 million contract, but he was getting considered by the Kings, and all that they were going to offer was De'Aaron Fox, who I don't know how content I'd be with him. But since that, there's always an upside with Julius Randle right now. He's in his last 3 games.
He's playing better. A lot better.
30, 10, 50% from the field, 41 from 3. I mean, it's something. As a Knicks fan, I'll take it. But you got to consider, do we keep him? Yes, we can. We can keep him. We can rally around him like we did last year on that 14 out of 15 game little streak that we got. Or we can give him away, rebuild, and think about the future. But either way, I don't think that trading or giving away any players is going to solve anything. I think that they just got to get their mind in the right place.
I mean, yeah, I'm kind of with you on that. I don't think trading pieces or getting anything in return is really going to save the Knicks season, because at this point you're just playing for the play-in, and at that point you're obviously not really going to do anything come playoff time. So it's either way, it's going to be a huge disappointment of a season anyway. So the Knicks they really had their hands tied. They've had a couple of pieces they were interested in kind of already go off the board. CJ McCollum they were kind of interested in, and we'll talk about that, but he's on the Pelicans now. They got them in a trade. And yeah, for the Knicks, if you're going to have R.J. Barrett as your only untouchable player, well, I got news for you guys. No one else really is going to target anyone else on your roster. R.J. Barrett's the only guy that's going to spark interest. Yeah. So what can you do? Essentially nothing.
Nothing. You got to let your young seeds grow. I mean, you got IQ, who they put so much trust in, like I said before, and I think that he is a big part of the future of this team. Maybe we can grow him into something that we can trade one day, or maybe we can grow him into something that can take us deep in the playoffs. It's just it's what's going to happen with these young guys that's going to dictate how the team is going to do over the next 4 or 5 years. Speaking of that, I mean, like we're seeing it right now, like what we're talking about next with Tyrese Halliburton, they're giving him away, and it's just interesting because this kid could really have been something that could have pushed them farther, but instead the Pacers got him, and they're going to ferment that seed and see what they can do with him. So, you got a lot of value in these young players, and it seems like people just like to draft for a year and a half and kick them out. It's an interesting situation we got here in the NBA.
Yeah, I mean, the Knicks, they've drafted some key young players recently. I mean, obviously R.J. Barrett, and then Obi Toppin has potential too, and Emmanuel Quickley as well. So they have young pieces, but it's just not really coming together right now as soon as Knicks fans would have hoped for, especially after last year when you saw as good as they were.
The 4 seed.
The 4 seed.
Yeah.
And then the first couple of games this year, you're thinking, oh, okay, the Knicks are kind of picking up right where they left off, and it's just been a downward slope since then. A couple of the young guys haven't really gotten it going, and Julius Randle's been a big disappointment aside from the last 3 games where, he's got 32 against the Lakers Saturday, 30 against the Jazz Monday, and then 28 last night against the Nuggets. But Julius Randle, I mean, it's been a really disappointing season for him, and to get to a point now where no one is interested in Julius Randle at all in trade talks, that's a fall from grace. That's a real big fall from grace.
He's making 117 in 4 years, and nobody even wants to think about getting him. It is a fall from grace. You said it perfectly.
Yeah, and I mean, their schedule upcoming at the end of the season, it's not looking too hot. I mean, at the end of this week, they got the Warriors, which can you really be confident that they're going to win that game? No. And then, you can win the Blazers game, and then you got the Thunder and the Nets before the All-Star break. But that can carry some momentum there. But
after that All-Star break, it does not look good, my friend. It does
No. I don't know if you have the schedule up in front of you, but
I do.
Yeah, there's a lot of scary teams that you're going to face, and I mean, if you're the Knicks, it's just a lost season.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying throw in the towel per se, but there's nothing you can do to really salvage anything that's happened. They've really dug their own grave. Mm-hmm. They've dug themselves too deep of a hole to really climb out of.
Yep. I think you hit it right on the head.
Yeah, and I mean, the Knicks, it's just been such a disappointment, especially coming off of last season. It's just been a disgrace. And the state of New York basketball, who thought that after last year and at the start of this season, who would have thought that the Nets and the Knicks would just be this low? Not many.
I don't know. As a New Yorker, you really like to think about the happy times, but the bad times just aren't it. And you see this right now in LA. I mean, they got the Rams doing well, they got the Dodgers doing well, and all that stuff. But the Lakers, New
York has nothing.
The Lakers are dragging them down. But New York, when you turn to that side, Giants, Jets, Knicks, Nets, it's not looking good right now.
And then obviously no baseball because of the whole lockout. Nothing to
look forward to.
Ugh.
Right now, as a New York fan,
just bleak, and there's no real saving grace for the Knicks. Like, there's nobody that can really come in and make anything of what's going on. Like, as a Knicks fan, is there anybody that you feel that the Knicks should still really go after at this point?
Well, it seems that everybody we go after runs away from us like we're crazy, like we have three eyes or something like that, like a monster. So. If we can get somebody like Donovan Mitchell, who has said a few times he is a New Yorker. He said a few times that he would like to play for the Knicks, and everybody on Knicks Twitter, they're making the jersey swaps already and stuff like that.
Knicks Twitter's got to relax.
Yeah, Knicks Twitter's a little. They got to hold their horses, but. Anybody at this point, I'd be fine with taking. That's a commodity, a hot commodity, and I think we start with the jazz guy, Donovan Mitchell.
Well, the way to make that happen, you willing to give up R.J. Barrett?
Yes.
Yeah. Interesting. Well, yeah, obviously it's an upgrade, but are the Knicks willing to do that? They've steadfastly said no.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
it's tough.
Yeah, the Knicks just they'd obviously want to improve, but they don't really want to give up the only way that they can.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
It's just so funny. I mean, just the state of the Knicks and seeing what's going on, and just nothing's really gone well for them. I mean, they got Cam Reddish, who was looked at as like a pretty significant addition at the time and could really, get stuff going off the bench, but he barely gets off the bench now.
What has he played the most? The most he's played in a game is 6 minutes or so.
He played a good amount last night, but.
Oh, did he?
Or did he? Yeah, he played 14 minutes last night, which is
night?
probably like the most he's played
Yeah.
since his time with the Knicks, and he only had 2 points.
Well, you got to think about we're missing D Rose, and that's
been a big loss.
Last night, or Mitch is day to day, RJ's day to day, Nerlens same thing, and Grimes as well. So. We got a lot of guys in and out of the rotation, so it's tough to, establish something. But Julius Randle seems to be picking it up in the last 3 games, which I'm fine with. RJ, I think there's reports that he sprained his ankle, which is horrendous.
That's concerning.
But a sprained ankle is nothing in basketball. They get up right after that, and they're good. He's averaging 18 and 6 and 3 assists, half a steal.
I mean, that's all you can ask for, but it's just. It's looking very bleak for the Knicks, and we got the trade deadline coming up. Are they going to do anything? We don't really know. The bigger story is probably with the Nets on the other side of town, and we'll be keeping tabs on that. I almost like have with James Harden. I almost have like the Woj ready on my phone, like waiting for something.
Oh, I'm sure you listeners at home will hear some updates throughout the show, but for now we wait.
Yeah, well, as we mentioned, the NBA trade deadline is coming up, and the Knicks and Nets we'll see what they do. But a couple of moves have already been made, and the Kings and the Pelicans. Kings, Pelicans, Pacers, all been active so far, so we'll all get into that. But first, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. We're going to have NBA trade deadline talk after the break, as well as some All-Star game talk, too. Stick around. You're listening to 101 Nightly on WFUV Sports.
Hi there, my friends. It's Dylan Balsamo, the voice of Fordham Women's Basketball. WFUV Sports is your home for Rams hoops all season long, with every game available through the FUV Sports Spreaker feed. You can access our Spreaker page through WFUVsports.org or the link in our Twitter and Instagram bios. Join myself, Andrew Galata, and company on site for the call of the game, plus Thomas Aiello, Chris Persiainen, and our entire WFUV Sports crew for the one-on-one pregame, halftime, and postgame reports. Coverage starts 10 minutes before tip-off of every game, so be sure to tune in. Follow the action of Fordham women's basketball all season long on WFUV Sports.
And welcome back to 101 Nightly, New York's longest-running sports call-in show. Brian Rayback is joined by Will Grant. We're taking it till 10 p.m. tonight. And we just went through a whole gauntlet of will they, won't they trade talks with the Knicks and the Nets. And, kind of just tired of talking about New York basketball right now since there's not a lot of good going on. So interesting stuff to talk about with the rest of the league in terms of the trade deadline. And we had a big trade come up the other day between the Kings and the Pacers, and a trade that kind of raised a lot of eyebrows among fans of the league. So the Sacramento Kings, they acquired Domantas Sabonis and Jeremy Lamb and Justin Holiday from Indiana, but obviously Sabonis is the big name. And in exchange, the Kings give up Tyrese Halliburton, Buddy Hield, and Tristan Thompson to the Pacers. And obviously, the big player here is Sabonis, with his crazy numbers. I mean, he's averaging 18, 12 rebounds, and 5 assists. He's just been a terrific player for them. But on the other side, there's also a lot of question marks being drawn with Tyrese Halliburton. That was a really alarming piece of the trade, and a lot of people are kind of surprised that the Kings would even deal this guy, considering that they just drafted him, and he's in the middle of his second year. So I want to get your thoughts, Will, on this trade. Who won, and what are your thoughts about each team's acquisitions?
I think that the fact that this trade involves such young people, it's going to be hard for one team or the other in 5 years when they see how the other one turned out.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Sabonis, an All-Star last year, he's very talented right now, as we know, and he's already blossoming. And the lefty forward center, whatever you want to call him, he's killing it right now in the NBA. He was the head of the Pacers franchise basically, and he was on a roll. But Halliburton is a fantastic player right now. He's averaging 14, 4, and 7. The former Iowa State Cyclone. He was just picked up in the draft. I mean, round 1, pick 12, and you really don't know what these young guys are going to bring you. So, like I was saying before, you don't know if you should plant them as in the rotation of your own team, or if you can get them gone for something better. So, right now, I think that the Kings won the trade in a way, but I mean, all love to Buddy and Halliburton, but I think Sabonis is just so good right now, and the Kings really lucked out. They're both 13th in their respective conference, Pacers being in the East and the Kings being in the West. Both have basically identical records, so I think that we can let the data show us in maybe at the end of the season who got the better trade.
I mean, yeah.
So
it's really puzzling to me, This is so odd because when do you see two 13-seeded teams move significant pieces like this? Like, obviously, obviously it's a trade for the future because there's nothing to play for this season. I mean, the Pacers are far out of it. The Kings actually, if you want to talk about the play-in tournament, the Kings are 3 games behind the Pelicans for that 10th seed to get into the play-in tournament. But I mean, there's the chances of the Kings sneaking into the play-in tournament, not great. And then you factor into the fact that, if they get out of the play-in tournament, they're probably not getting past the first round. So it's just a kind of a confusing trade. It just caught me by surprise for sure, considering that these are moving 2 significant pieces. And I mean, if you're the Kings, they got a great player in Sabonis. There's absolutely no doubt about that. He is fantastic, but I got to question a little bit about giving up Halliburton, considering he's such a young player and he's been so good for the Kings. He's been one of the few bright spots on that roster, and you mentioned he's averaging 14.3, 7 assists, 3 rebounds. He's been all they could have asked for so far. And
yeah, in a young guy, he really is all they could ask for.
Yeah, and he's super young and had a bright future ahead of him, and now all of a sudden he's just gone, and he's gone to Indiana, and I don't really get it. I don't really get what the Kings were really thinking here. Now, they got a great player in return, but at the same time, you kind of thought Tyrese Halliburton was going to be, a centerpiece of this rebuild. And given reports that he was absolutely devastated by being traded by the Kings, it's just, wow. I got to question the strategy here. I don't really know what the Kings were doing.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. You think about the last time the Kings were ever really successful. Peyton Manning was winning championships, and that was a long time ago. So maybe these moves, maybe there's a deeper meaning, but at the end of the day, on paper, on the statistics, it just looks like a whole lot of nonsense. But Halliburton, I think they did lose something very special, and I'm very shocked to hear that he was so passionate about that team and that he was so broken up when he was literally broken up from them.
Yeah.
And I think he'll get over it, but he has a lot of potential. I see a lot of Lonzo Ball in him. He's a great passer. He has a very intelligible IQ. And, Lonzo is going to be a valuable role player, as we could tell, number 2 pick. He's nothing too crazy, but Halliburton's ceiling is nothing. Like, he doesn't have a ceiling. He can really blossom, and right now, in his second year in the league, he's doing so well. And, I think that right now it's hard to tell because I did say before that I think the Kings won, but I'm rethinking right now.
Yeah. It really could go either way. I think the Pacers got the better end of this deal, and I'm going to tell you why.
Tell me.
So Tyrese Halliburton, first of all, that's a great pickup, and he also just moving Sabonis out of Indy, it is a better fit for Miles Turner on that roster as he starts to come back, and now Turner can play center without Sabonis, and according to Woj, he appears thrilled about the idea of playing with Halliburton, and honestly, who wouldn't with a young star like that? So I just think with this maneuvering that the Pacers did, I think their roster is, better fit for success. Now, obviously, not going to happen this year. They've already dealt pieces away and they've been dealing with injuries, so nothing's going on in Indiana in 2022, at least at the end of this season. But for the future, they've got some strong pieces, and now Miles Turner better fits for their roster. So I have to say, I like what the Pacers are doing.
Yeah. Karis LeVert, I mean, he's going to be a good addition with Halliburton and, like you said, Miles Turner. They gave away Justin Holiday too as well, right?
They did.
Yeah, he's not anything too crazy. He's averaging 11 and 2, but these are just minor little parts that each team's giving away, and I guess there's a great angle at the end, but right now it's kind of confusing. So. That 2027 second-round pick, I mean, they kind of just threw that in there.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? So, yeah, we'll wait and see what really happens here. But, I mean, I have to say the Kings, I don't know if I would have done that deal. I don't know, and especially given the Kings' front office track record, I mean, that's a little concerning. But, I think no matter who's on that roster, the Kings just can't win. So, honestly, maybe we're kind of grasping at straws here. Maybe we're just kind of glancing over the fact that the Kings, they're just not going to win with anybody. At least that's what it seems like now. But, yep, this trade's been done. And, a couple another interesting deal that we have to talk about. C.J. McCollum got traded. C.J. McCollum got traded to the Pelicans. So they deal him to New Orleans, and in exchange, New Orleans gives up Josh Hart, Tomas Satoransky, and Nickeil Alexander-Walker and Didi Luzadze. But the big story here is obviously C.J. McCollum and really the end of an era in Portland. And that's really the Blazers, to me, just throwing in the towel and obviously kind of realizing that this isn't their year. And, this big run that they're kind of going on, it's kind of coming to an end. At least that's what I kind of take from it for the Blazers making this deal.
Yeah, I mean, it's very tough to rely on somebody who's one of the better players in the draft when they picked up from Weber State, Damian Lillard. I never really understood the whole loyalty to a city that you were drafted to, because at the end of the day, it's about you. It's about what you want to do, and I'm not sure what exactly Lillard's end goal is here. So.
Well, I like the fact that Dame's loyal.
I like it.
I'm all
it's
for
nice.
It. I mean, listen. We're going to get off topic for a second, but, I'm just so done with the whole super team narrative.
Yeah.
And just the way the NBA is built. It's just better that guys are just kind of loyal and sticking with one team.
Yes, theoretically it is, but super teams win championships, and you're not going to win a championship with just one guy, and I don't think that C.J. McCollum is another guy.
No.
So, unless Damian Lillard was able to team up with somebody who was another generational superstar, there's nothing that's going to be happening in Portland for the next few years at least. But you really don't like the super teams? I think they're a lot of fun.
Listen, they're fun, but it's just the NBA is too top heavy. That's just what
that is a good point.
With.
That is a good point.
Listen, as a Nets fan, I'm all for it, and listen, I'm all for that. But at the same time, I don't like the whole fact that players can just conspire together and form on a team to really just kind of dominate. That's just my take on it.
You're a little old school,
oh,
which I
listen,
respect
and,
it. And
it hurts guys like Dame.
It does hurt guys like Dame,
but at the same time, Dame could easily adjust with the times and go somewhere.
Yeah, he could. But you got to look at the Bucks. last year, this team, like I've been saying all night, they planted those seeds. Those seeds sprouted, and those two seeds in Middleton and Giannis
paid off.
It's unbelievable how they were able to walk away with it, and they beat the Nets, who were Kyrie-less, were they?
They were Kyrie-less, and pretty much James Harden. He was out there as a decoy.
Okay. So, yeah, it's an interesting dynamic. We got the Heat, who's, what do you think about the Heat? Do you like what they're doing?
The Heat are good. Especially in this Eastern Conference, now that it's a little more wide open with the Nets not being a sure thing, I think they could make a run.
I think this is the most open the league has ever been.
Oh yeah,
since I've been a big basketball fan.
This Nets-Lakers fixed finals, it doesn't look like that's happening.
No, and everybody really thought it was gonna be, and right now I think the West is completely shut off.
Yeah,
the West is. Well, you got the Suns, but I think that the Warriors are just such an unbelievable team.
Mm-hmm.
The Suns and Warriors, they're both. I retract my statement. They are absolutely so much better than everybody else in that division.
Yeah. Well, back to the McCollum trade.
Yeah.
The Pelicans definitely got an upgrade. McCollum is obviously a very good player. He's averaging 20.5, 4.3 rebounds, and 4.5 assists. But also, the interesting thing here is people are speculating, if Zion comes back and Zion's, lives up to his full potential, this team could be good.
Yeah.
This big three of, fully potential Zion and then, Brandon Ingram, who's been a star, and now McCollum, that's a really solid big three.
It really is. What are they right now? They're 22 and 32.
They're 10th in the West. They'd be in the play-in tournament.
They would. And what's the status on Zion?
I'm not really sure, to be honest.
Because he's just not playing.
He's just gone missing.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's just fallen off the face of the earth.
So you're so right with that point that they really have something going on there. They got Zion, who's he's just a specimen, unbelievable athlete, and they got Brandon Ingram, 22 a game, dishing in 5 and 5. I mean, solid team.
Yeah, if the pieces come together, the Pelicans could really do something. And in terms of playoff contention, I don't know if they're a championship contending team. Like, can they compete with the Warriors? No. Can they compete with the Suns? No. But you're thinking next year, if this team's together, they can do something.
We're definitely going to see a lot this season. We're definitely going to see a lot this season about how next season's going to play out. If this experiment works, I mean, this could really be something. And I didn't even realize it till you just opened my eyes to it. And Valanciunas too. I mean, he's a great center. Not great.
He's very
good center.
He's good.
Yeah.
You'll definitely take him on your team, no doubt about that.
Is he putting up 18, 11?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And 2.5 turnovers.
Well, yeah. So on the topic of, great and, top tier caliber players, let's talk about the All-Star game. And there's been a couple of changes in there with LaMelo Ball and DeJounte Murray have both been added to the All-Star game roster. And Melo's in for Kevin Durant, who is injured, and same thing goes for Murray, who's in for Draymond Green. So LaMelo Ball, he's been doing well, 19.6, 7.1, 7.5, and Murray's averaging 19, 8, and 9. So these guys are both really good players, and obviously they're both rewarded with it with the All-Star game. But I got to ask, do you have an issue with either of these, or are you perfectly okay with both?
No. I think this is no. I think it's okay. I think it's good. I think it's good.
Twitter said a little bit differently. I looked on Twitter beforehand. There's been a couple of issues with the selections.
Well, you got to think about how a lot of people consider the fact that the team and how they're doing it, that's a huge factor in if they should be an All-Star or not.
Mm-hmm. I don't think so.
Spurs are 20 and 34, and it's tough that they're gonna award Murray it, but I think that he's every time have you ever watched him play live?
Live, no, I have not.
Not like at the stadium, but like on TV.
Not particularly.
Yeah, I literally saw him for the first time the other night. He is so entertaining, and he's very, very involved in every play.
Mm-hmm.
Those type of guys that it's like, oh, there he is. He got the rebound. Now he's getting on the back end, and he's getting that assist.
You can just tell with the guys that he's something special.
They're running around. They're doing their thing. And what is he at? He's averaging 19, 8, and 4.
19, 8, and 9.
19, 8, and 9. That's
very great.
Very impressive. But I'm under the impression that a lot of people are only satisfied when their team is doing well when they get elected to the All-Star game, because Darius Garland, I mean, you see a guy like that, well, it's because the Cavs are doing so well and he's carrying them.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, it's tough, but I think LaMelo is, LaMelo's fantastic. And what is he putting up, 19, 7, and 7? I mean, these guys are just putting up solid numbers all around. And the fact, what'd you say, it was Draymond and KD?
Draymond and KD.
Those were the replacements.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I think they're pretty substantial.
Yeah, but I mean, LaMelo, I think I have no problem with Murray at all. LaMelo, I think you can make a case for a couple of other guys. And now, obviously, no knock on LaMelo Ball. He's terrific, but a lot of people are being vocal about the fact that Jaylen Brown's been having a really good year. And he kind of got snubbed. Jaylen Brown averaging 23, 6, and 3. And, I mean, you could make the case, no? You could make the case.
You can definitely make the case. I think it's just the lack of winning by the Celtics that's surprising, only in that respect because they do have Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown.
Yeah.
So, and they're working their way in, like I said before, but they were so bad for a little while. And it's hard to give them that. It's kind of like the Bradley Beal thing last year where he was like putting up numbers, but it's like you're on.
Well,
team.
you know what I don't like about All-Star game voting, and especially in the NBA, like a lot of people are scared to put two guys on one team in the game together, and
they got 4 of them on the Warriors.
Yeah, but I mean, I was just looking through Twitter, and it was like oh, why can't Pascal Siakam? Why wasn't he in over Melo? And the defense for it was, oh, well, the Raptors, they can't have two guys on the same team, which I just think is,
I don't know.
I don't know about that. Yeah,
I think it's the most it's they're stars. It's not number one player from this team, number one player for this team. I think you get that pass.
Yeah, and then you have the whole like popularity contest narrative where, oh, LaMelo obviously popular, but what about a guy like Jaylen Brown? He doesn't have necessarily the star power that LaMelo has. I mean, LaMelo's flashy. And,
yeah, he is so fun to watch.
He's terrific.
He's a treat.
But I would say Jaylen Brown, you can definitely make the case for it, and a lot of others have made the case for Siakam too, because I mean his numbers this season are better than his first All-Star season, so he's kind of gotten better, but he's still snubbed. And then
one thing I'd like to say before,
please go ahead.
The fact that Andrew Wiggins made the starting team over Luka Doncic being the best basketball player to ever play.
I mean, I don't really know what to say about that. That's I mean, obviously we know Luka Doncic is better than Andrew Wiggins. I mean, come on.
The
voters really got this wrong.
Doncic is averaging almost a double-double or triple-double every game. And Wiggins is not even averaging 20 points a game, not even close to a double-double. So, I mean, it's tough, but, he's really coming out of his shell. I'm happy for Wiggins.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is his career year, especially, you look at all this and think that he was supposed to miss out part of the season as well. So, great for him, but obviously there's some flaws in the All-Star game voting, and I don't think we're going to deny that. And then another name you got to look at, Brandon Ingram. Brandon Ingram has been having a really good year, and he got snubbed at the All-Star game. That's a name that I think significant to leave out. Yeah. So, the All-Star game's coming up, and, the rosters have finally been finalized, but that'll do all our NBA talk for now. Coming up next, we got some football to get into. The Pro Bowl was this past weekend, and ooh, it was something. And this is something I've been wanting to talk about ever since the game took place. So please do not go anywhere. We got Pro Bowl talk coming back on 101. We'll take a short break, but we'll be right back coming up on 101.
Hey everybody, Nick DeLuca here, play-by-play voice of Fordham men's basketball, reminding you to keep it locked right here on WFUV Sports, your home for Fordham basketball all season long. Don't miss a moment from a thrilling first year under head coach Kyle Neptune, plus highlights, analysis, and exclusive interviews with the Fordham men's basketball coaching staff. All of that on 90.7 FM, WFUVSports.org, and the Fordham Men's Basketball Spreaker page.
All right, we are back here on 101 Nightly. This is New York's longest running sports call-in show. We're taking until 10 p.m. tonight, and let's get into the Pro Bowl. Let's do it. So I'll start off by asking, did you watch any of that game on Sunday?
A matter of fact, I turned it on for, a little bit of it. I think I saw a little bit of the second quarter, and I was just so underwhelmed.
I mean, how could you not be with that product on the field?
I didn't even know that it was like that. I thought that it would at least be like the NBA All-Star game where they'd be, I guess, trying a little bit, but it looked like a Pee Wee football game.
Well, yeah, they found out ways to make the NBA All-Star game fun, but the Pro Bowl, I don't really know what ways you can really work around that. And I'll be very blunt right now. I haven't watched the Pro Bowl, I think, ever.
Yeah, same.
I don't think I've ever tuned into the Pro Bowl, and I definitely wasn't watching what happened on Sunday. I mean, I've seen clips of it, and it's so bad. No one wants to tackle anybody. No one wants to, obviously no one wants to get hurt, so they figure the game means nothing. Why should I even try? And obviously the physicality has taken a backseat recently, but this was just an all-time low. I mean, that was just not an appealing product. And the NFL, I feel like they can't be satisfied putting a product like that on the field. You gotta agree with that, no?
Yeah, I mean it's definitely it's definitely not football.
No,
and
I don't know what that was, but
I'm not sure, but it's something that these players defended it. They took to Twitter. A few of them were saying, they're gonna go into a long off season where if they get hurt, they can really screw up their chances to be the player that they want to be for the next season.
Right.
But at that point, when you're considering that, why even have it?
Exactly.
I mean, maybe an alternative. Like somebody suggested an alternative. I saw on Twitter. It was a funny little thing. It said the worst 2 teams in the league.
I've seen this. Yeah.
They should play a game for the number 1 pick in the draft, which that's funny. But at the end of the day, they do have a month or a little, depending on how good the team is, they do have a month off and then play the game, which can really screw up like the way that their body reacts to things, because there's a cycle in football. You wake up Monday morning, Tuesday morning, you're screwed up in the first week or two in the new NFL season. But as those weeks go on, you become less, you become built for it. So if you're taking off about a month and a half, if you're a team that's not going to make the playoffs, and you're going out and knocking each other like silly, it's gonna be horrible for your body, and it could really lead to maybe being out the next season or something, or tearing something that you didn't think you could tear, because in regular season you were running, you're doing full workout and stuff like that. So it's very weird.
Yeah.
Also, just the fact that it's at the end of the season instead of the middle of the season. But it's such a interesting. There's so many different factors that come into the game of football because it's so physical.
Well, yeah, I'm glad you mentioned the timing of the Pro Bowl and just at the end of the season. It's like it's weird.
Yeah,
like it's
everyone's
sandwiched in between championship weekend and then the Super Bowl, and obviously no one's really dying to see the Pro Bowl at that point in time.
I think they just threw it on there because there was no football.
Yeah, but. I'd almost rather know football than watching guys, not even tackle guys and the refs blow the whistle when the guy goes untouched.
Exactly.
But it's different from the NBA and the MLB because those are like in the middle of the season. And
and it's very fun. Like there's a lot going on. Like
I agree.
Everybody's, you got those 2 players that are like head to head, and it's like, oh, this is funny. It's a good what is it? A little opposite of recap for a preview. That's the word I was folks. It's a good preview for maybe a potential finals match.
Yeah, well,
so it's fun.
The NBA has made some nice adjustments where they've made the game a little more fun, with the whole team captains and everything. And also now with, the target score you have to get at the end. So it makes the game a little more exciting. But, I mean, with football, I don't really know what you can do to really salvage the Pro Bowl. I mean, are we just going to have to accept that this is what it's going to be every year?
I think the outrage over this year's Pro Bowl was second to none from any other year, I believe. Mm-hmm. And there's going to be something done, I believe, because so many people were just like, this is nonsense. What are we even doing here?
Well, truth be told, I don't really know what the solution is.
Yeah.
You could argue, okay, just throw it in the middle of the season. Well, I think you're going to get the same thing. Like, guys don't want to, with football being such a physically demanding sport, guys don't want to get hurt it's a nonsense game. It's just for fun, really. But
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, there's no one wants to get hurt and like risk serious injury playing this game, but I'm sure it's really fallen off. I mean, I'm sure you saw the video of Sean Taylor in the Pro Bowl about 15 years ago and him just leveling the punter.
Yeah. Oh my gosh!
And it really just shows,
different time.
The fall from grace the Pro Bowl has taken. There's no you don't see physicality like that anymore. So, but at this rate, do you just get rid of it?
I have heard somebody tell me I can't give credit to it. I don't know who they are. Sorry, but they told me a source has told me that there should be a skills competition.
I would like that better.
So cool.
Like quarterbacks lining up from the goal line and seeing how far you
could throw it.
That would be a lot of fun.
That'd be so cool.
Like imagine Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes in a deep ball contest.
Yeah, I mean they're never going to make it to the Super Bowl. So again.
And the other thing about the Pro Bowl is the timing of it prevents everybody from participating in it. So
yeah, it is very weird.
Yeah, so anybody
you can't have the best player in the league
yeah,
in the Pro Bowl.
Yeah, so anybody on the Rams and the Bengals can't be in the Pro Bowl. So you're leaving out Jamar Chase, Cooper Kupp, Matthew Stafford probably would have been in there, Aaron Donald, Von Miller. I don't know if Von Miller would have been in there, but either way, there's still a lot of great players that just don't participate every single year because of the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
at that point, like, why have it at the end of January? Doesn't really make any sense to me. And obviously, with the lack of effort and the kind of mockery of football that it's become, they got to do something. Whether that either be change the game in some way or just get rid of it entirely and make All-Star Weekend something else. I think that would be better. But anything to not really relive what we saw on Sunday. But it's just. I can't even process what I saw, and it's just so terrible as a football fan.
Yeah, and the fact that like in any other sport, basketball and baseball, it's a nice break,
right?
The All-Star break where everybody in the league gets about a week off.
Mm-hmm.
It's really really nice, and football's such a weird sport. Like I said before, it's like you got a week in and out. You could play Thursday, then you could not play for a week and a half or something like that. It's very weird. So I like the fact that a lot of sports are like, oh, we're going to designate this time for the players. So let the players, go for the weekend, do their thing, and then let them spend time with their family, relax, recover, stuff like that. But this was it just made no sense.
Oh, my producer just came into my ear, and I think that this is something that really kind of sums it up well. So I'll shout out the commenter, Kevin Rayback. So my brother, thank you for listening. But he said that the Pro Bowl is essentially it's a non-contact practice. That's essentially what it is. And obviously the product on the field on Sunday, it shows that. And yeah, not a lot of great things watching the Pro Bowl. And as if things couldn't get worse coming out of the Pro Bowl, you have this whole Alvin Kamara thing.
Oh no, yeah.
Yeah.
That might have been worse than the game.
Yeah, so Alvin Kamara got arrested in Vegas on a charge of assault. And yeah, it's apparently him and 3 other guys beat up a guy until he became unconscious, and just a wild situation and another damper on the Pro Bowl. Not really the Pro Bowl had anything to do with that, but that's problematic.
Pro Bowl 0, not Pro Bowl 2, but it's so weird because you just brought up to me before the fact that Vegas, like the Pro Bowl is in Vegas,
mm-hmm.
and what team in the league has had the most self-destructive season of all time of maybe any sport ever?
That would be the Vegas Raiders.
Bingo. And it's pretty crazy when you sit back and think about it, like, yeah, these guys are going home every day after practice and going to Vegas.
Yeah.
So
you see it with Kamara. Now, this actually took place before the Pro Bowl, which I didn't know beforehand. So,
did it?
Yeah, apparently they got in touch with the NFL at like 10 o'clock on Sunday morning, and they knew that Kamara was a suspect, and they wanted to talk to him. Now, it happened I think probably like Saturday night before. It happened in Vegas.
I saw it was at 6. It happened at about 6:30 a.m.
6:30 a.m.?
Yeah.
What are you doing that you need to like beat somebody up at 6:30 in the morning?
I'm confused here.
I mean,
6:30 a.m. on Saturday.
Yes, on Saturday.
So that's a day before.
The Pro Bowl was on Sunday.
Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, I guess.
So maybe this is why the Pro Bowl was so poorly played. All the players are out.
Well, yeah, all the players are out just probably partying in Vegas, out until 6:30 in the morning.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about it like that.
Well, yeah, that's another thing. So, I mean.
So I guess he must have been a weird Saturday for him. He must have just been like,
I mean, yeah.
When am I going to get popped?
And I mean, yeah, apparently he knew beforehand that, the police wanted to talk to him. Wow. So he was playing in the Pro Bowl knowing that, he had kind of a warrant out for his arrest. So that's kind of problematic. And, Vegas, the whole thing. I mean.
He punched the man 8 times, and
that's the other thing.
Stomped on his face.
The guy received 9 punches, and apparently like 8 of them came from Kamara.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and I saw this. If convicted, he could face 5 years in prison.
Oh,
now,
wow.
I'm sure Kamara has like a good lawyer.
Be able to work something out.
Will work something out, but yeah, if the NFL couldn't have any worse of a Pro Bowl weekend, Alvin Kamara made it worse.
Somehow he made it worse. That was his fifth Pro Bowl in 5 seasons. I mean,
yeah, he's a terrific player.
Yeah, he had 1,300 yards this season with 9 touchdowns, and
no denying that.
And 1 arrest.
Obviously, obviously that can't really be condoned. So
what do you think the league is gonna do about this?
I don't know. I don't really know. Obviously, the whole situation looks really bad. Are they going to suspend him? Like, is that the route that they're gonna take? I don't know. We've seen players get away with a lot worse offenses. So, but I'm not really sure. I mean, it's a pretty public arrest. So, I think maybe they'll give him a couple games next year. I think it's definitely on the table.
Yeah. I mean, it depends. You got to get the whole story out.
Obviously.
Innocent until proven guilty, honestly, but at this point, it's not looking good. But there could be a completely warranted, this could be warranted by Kamara in some way, but we really don't know.
Well, yeah, who knows? But the Pro Bowl, just kind of a disaster.
How about that Pro Bowl?
Disaster of a weekend for the NFL. Oh, and by the way, if anyone was wondering, the AFC won 41-35.
The overhit. If anyone's out there betting on the Pro Bowl,
well,
good for you.
We've been kind of, downing on the Pro Bowl a lot, but I think the best thing about the Pro Bowl, you like Mac Jones gritty?
Yeah, it was all right. Yeah. It was a little lame, but I liked it. I liked it.
Shout out to Jack Roach, by the way. If you go on NFL's Instagram, he got on NFL's Instagram asking Jamar Chase what he thought about Mac Jones' gritty, which is pretty cool. And all of us here at WFUV Sports are incredibly proud of that. And
yeah, that's great stuff.
What a
Jack.
moment, great stuff. And I think Jack Roach probably the winner of a Pro Bowl weekend.
Yeah, he wins.
He got something really good out of it, and the rest of the NFL can't really say much more. But yep, Pro Bowl is just really kind of taking a bad turn, as we know, and that'll wrap up all of our Pro Bowl talk as we can finally put that matter to rest. A lot of coaches coming up. We got a lot of coaches that got new jobs, and the landscape of the NFL is finally shaping up for next season. So we're going to take a short break, but we'll be right back with some NFL coach talk. We'll be right back. Stay tuned.
Kelly Bright here, Knicks beat reporter for WFUV Sports. New York basketball is here, and you don't want to miss a thing about your favorite team. So make sure you're following us on Twitter at WFUV Sports to get the inside scoop for all things Knicks. We've got you with updates before, during, and after the game, from the press conferences and the action itself. We also post game recaps on all of WFUV Sports' social channels, as well as on our YouTube page. And to hear sound bites and deeper analysis on the team and the league, be sure to check out WFUV's weekly podcast, Pick and Pod, on all platforms you get your favorite podcasts. Go Knicks!
We're not back yet.
Welcome back to One-on-One Nightly, New York's longest-running sports call-in show. We're taking you till 10 p.m. on YouTube and Twitter. I'm Brian Raybacks alongside Will Grant. And Will, we got some new coaches. All the NFL coaching jobs are all taken now. It's all kind of been wrapped up and everything's finalized. So let's get into some of the recent ones, shall we? Let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it.
So one of the bigger names that came recently, Doug Peterson. And we all know Doug Peterson, coach of the Eagles. He lands a job with the Jaguars. And this hire, it's one of the more interesting hires of the whole offseason, Doug Peterson, the big thing about him is that he's a Super Bowl winner. He's won a Super Bowl with the Eagles in 2017, and he's had success. They've made the playoffs 3 times with Doug Peterson at the helm, and obviously, the last season wasn't very good, and that's ultimately what led to him being dismissed. But he's got some success and got the track record that maybe the Jaguars could have some hope with this hire.
Yeah, going through that season with Urban Meyer and
anything's an upgrade from Urban Meyer.
Yeah,
that was.
There was every week it seemed like there was something new, but you got Trevor Lawrence. You got somebody who's really supposed to be him. Supposed to be that guy in the NFL. One of the most sought after number 1 picks in a while. So, it seems like the safe choice for Jacksonville right now. They're not trying to do anything crazy like they pulled with Urban Meyer last season. So, also the fact that he does have a Super Bowl, it's
encouraging.
It's very encouraging. It's very relieving too. But for right now, I don't like Doug Peterson. I'm a Giants fan. I don't like him.
Yeah, I don't either. I don't like Doug Peterson.
Do you remember that game?
Of course I remember that game.
Okay, all right. Well, that's something that it's not right for the sport.
Well, the interesting thing, you bring that up. The Giants play the Jaguars next year?
Oh, do they?
Oh, they do. So
they're playing that whole division?
Yeah, they're playing the whole AFC South. So
nice.
Circle that one on your calendar. Giants-Jags, potential revenge game on Doug Peterson. But, the hire, in terms of the hire, I think it's good. I think it's one of the better hires of the whole new teams with new coaches. And Doug Peterson, the interesting thing here is he is a former NFL QB, and it could be just kind of the mentor that Trevor Lawrence needs to develop into the QB that everyone thought he was going to. So I think with the resume Doug Peterson has and the fact that he, knows how to play the quarterback position and can kind of give mentorship to Trevor Lawrence, I think this is a great hire.
That's a great point. The fact that he was himself a quarterback, and he really can provide some great insight as he was on the field at once, just like Trevor Lawrence is now. And what he did with the Eagles last year was very impressive, to say the least. I am also, I'm a Giants fan, so they're an NFC East rival, just like the Cowboys. But the Cowboys had a great season as well. But 9-8 is what they went. They had some pretty impressive wins. Actually, I take that back. They had no impressive wins. You want to know their wins?
Oh no, I'm familiar with their wins. Well, that was without Doug Peterson. Peterson got canned after the whole, fiasco with the Washington and Nate Sudfeld, all that.
Okay, yes, Nate Sudfeld, you're right.
And the Eagles made the playoffs without him, but didn't have a single impressive win on their resume.
Well,
believe me, I know all about that. The whole they didn't beat a single team over. Actually, they beat one team over 500. It was the Saints with Trevor Siemian.
Yeah.
So nothing too impressive there. And Doug Peterson, he leaves the Eagles and goes to the Jaguars. Interesting. The Jaguars certainly have a lot of work to do, but I think, they're moving in a bit of the right direction with that hire. Moving on to a couple of other new coaches that broke this weekend, the Dolphins hired Mike McDaniel. Mike McDaniel was the offensive coordinator for the Niners this past year, and that was a good offensive team. So you think the Dolphins, a team that needs a shot in the arm on offense, you have to kind of think of Mike McDaniel. That's probably a decent hire.
Hey, he's 38 years old, McDaniel. I mean, he's coming from Mike Shanahan's staff in Washington. What else came out of that?
Shanahan for forever.
Sean McVay, Matt LaFleur, and there's a ton of different coaches that are really impressive on that staff at that point. So we're gonna see how he does, and he's replacing Brian Flores, who had a 2-year stint with them with the Dolphins, and you know how that ended. So
still bizarre.
Yeah, still crazy.
I don't get it.
So the locker room, it's going to be something very difficult to, hold together. And to get someone to build behind this guy, I mean, last year they did end up doing pretty well at the end, but I feel like all that momentum's gone.
Yeah, I mean,
all that momentum's out.
Especially with Flores out. That was really, you could argue, the guy. That's what many people believe was the guy who was, the reason for the Dolphins being as good as they were. And now, obviously, he's gone. So it'll be interesting to see what the Mike McDaniel era brings to Miami. But I think he can bring some good things. And you saw what he did with the 49ers. That offense was really creative and, found ways to score points, which was just a job well done. Look what Deebo Samuel did all with them. Look what they were able to accomplish.
Yeah, they're saying Deebo Samuel is like a new type of style of player. He's a new position, sort of.
Yeah.
Where
you just plug him in anywhere.
Plug him in, exactly.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool. And, the offense of the Dolphins, it hasn't been great. They kind of need a shot in the arm, as I mentioned, and can Tua possibly get a little better with Mike McDaniel if he remains their quarterback? That's always been up in the air, but I did see a video.
Who's their backup or whoever they got on deck?
They had Jacoby Brissett.
Okay,
it was Jacoby Brissett, but there's always been like Deshaun Watson trade rumors, and there's rumors they're going to trade for somebody, but Tua as of right now, Tua is their guy, and drafted him with the 3rd overall pick, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, but they drafted him very early in the first round, and he's been okay at best, but hasn't really developed into the tank for Tua guy that they thought he was gonna be. So maybe Mike McDaniel's that guy that can take him to the next level. But the difference here with him and Peterson is that he doesn't have the coaching resume. So with Peterson, you can kind of have more confidence in, given that he's coached a Super Bowl team with Nick Foles as your quarterback. But with McDaniel, it's always kind of a shot in the dark with coordinators, because some coordinators turn out to be excellent and exactly what you thought there would be, and others turns out like Pat Shurmur, who just can't really coach well. But Mike McDaniel hired by the Dolphins, and move on to the Saints. Saints hired in-house coordinator Dennis Allen, defensive coordinator, got hired by the Saints, and obviously this comes in the wake of the Sean Payton exit. So what do you think of the Dennis Allen hire? I don't really know what to make of this, because I think either way the Saints are in a very bad position.
Yeah, it seems like the Saints aren't too, thrilled with this. It's very tough when you lose 2 pillars of your team that are just so valuable and have been so consistent over the past few years, over the past 10 years, I should say, since the Super Bowl. You lose Drew Brees, one of the all-time quarterbacks, and then you lose one of the best coaches in the league. It's hard. So anybody to step up to the plate and replace them, it's gonna be difficult. So I don't really know what to make of it. Like I'm in your boat.
Yeah, and their salary cap situation's kind of a disaster, and they don't have a quarterback right now, unless you count Taysom Hill, but that can only get you so far.
I know last year without Taysom Hill and Ian Book, they were 9-3, and then they were 0-5.
Oh yeah, all that was Jameis. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is Jameis gonna go back? Don't really know, but we'll
send
move
him to Tampa.
Yeah, I like the. I've been saying to a lot of people, I love the idea of him going back to Tampa, but a man can dream. Who knows? And the last team we'll get into in terms of head coaches, the Texans hired Lovie Smith, and I don't know about you, but I really don't get this hire at all. The Texans fired David Culley, and that was a surprise, considering you could argue they exceeded expectations. And, the thought was maybe they'd bring in Brian Flores, maybe they'd bring in somebody. They bring in Lovie Smith? I don't know about this hire, and, what do you think about it?
Well, it's tough. He's 64 years old. He hasn't really had any success in the past. This team is very tough to deal with, considering
They have no talent.
It's such a weird situation with Watson too. Nobody really knows what the heck is going on there.
I don't think you can even factor Deshaun Watson into the equation at this point.
Besides Watson, he oversaw the NFL's worst defense in 2021.
Yeah,
maybe being a CEO, something up above, would be good for him. But it just seems like him being on the field. He hasn't had he's not a winning coach. What is his overall record? 43-77.
He's 80. I think 89 and 87, I believe. And he took the 2000.
Since 2012, he's 43.
Right. Yeah. So that's recently he hasn't really had. Yeah. He took the Bears to a Super Bowl in 2006, but that's 16 years ago at this point.
Yeah. That's different. That's a different time.
And yeah, you mentioned he's on the Texans defensive staff. And by the way, that defensive unit was 31st in yards given up and 27th in points.
Yeah.
So I really don't know about this hire. And I saw a comment on Instagram that said the Texans are stuck in 2005. And I think that sums it up perfectly. So Texans, I really don't know about this hire. Before we go to break, got to bring up the Giants. We know their head coach, Brian Dable. I'm sure we've all talked about that quite a bit. But they hire Don Martindale as their defensive coordinator. And now their whole coaching staff is rounded out, and I really like the staff that they have going. There are 2 Giants fans sitting in this room, and the coaching staff, you have Dable as your head coach, Mike Kafka, quarterback coach of the Chiefs, as your offensive coordinator, and now Don Martindale coming from the Ravens as your defensive coordinator. I like this coaching staff. I don't know about you, but this is about the strongest the Giants coaching staff has been in years.
Yeah, I mean, he interviewed for the head coaching job like a few years ago, but lost it to Joe Judge. I mean,
yeah.
Let's
not bring that up.
Yeah, let's not bring that up. But I'm very confident in the entire coaching staff. I feel like we got a complete rebuild. So I'm not really too familiar with as they call him Wink
Martindale.
But I think they got really something going on with Dabble from that press conference that I saw. He's extremely put together, and he's a gritty football guy.
Yeah.
So
and, I mean, this offseason it's just been going really well so far for the Giants, which it's been hard to really
go down.
Yeah.
It can't really get any worse.
It can't get any worse, so
yeah.
We'll give them credit, but they've really gone up. A lot of their hires look like home run hires, and Dable, offensive-minded head coach, did great things with the Bills, and Josh Allen, and then offensive coordinator Kafka, quarterback coach of Patrick Mahomes. I mean, that's all the resume you really need. And then Martindale, his defenses from 2018 to 2020, number 1 in yards per game, points per game, opponent's completion percentage, and it's just
Daniel Jones, thoughts?
Daniel Jones, with the right guys around him, they could definitely they can build around him, but I think they can definitely win with him. I don't think he's going to be an elite quarterback, but I think Daniel Jones could definitely get the job done, and the Giants have their coaching staff rounded out with Martindale, so we'll see how their season goes and how the rest of their offseason progresses in terms of free agents and other things. So that'll wrap up our coaching talk, and we'll take a quick break, and coming up next after the break, Super Bowl talk. Super Bowl is this weekend, and we'll give our thoughts on it and really kind of give a preview. So we'll take a quick break, and we'll be right back on One-on-One Nightly.
Hi, I'm Michael Calamari, reminding you to tune into New York's longest-running sports call-in show, One-on-One. Catch all the breaking sports news, hot takes, inside scoops from our beat reporters, and interviews with people around the world of sports. One-on-One airs every Saturday from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. on YouTube Live, and once again at night from 11 p.m. to 2 a.m. on 90.7 FM. Want more One-on-One? Catch our Wednesday edition of the show, One-on-One Nightly, from 8:30 p.m. to 10 p.m. on Twitter and YouTube Live. Join the conversation and tune in to One-on-One, New York's longest-running sports call-in show.
And we are back here on One-on-One Nightly. Got about 13 minutes to go before we hit 10 o'clock, but we're not done yet. And we got a big one coming up, the Super Bowl. Super Bowl is this week, and one of the commenters watching on YouTube said that this is Georgia versus LSU. So that's Matt Stafford and Joe Burrow. So first of all, those 2 quarterbacks they've been phenomenal, haven't they? They've been so fun to watch.
So fun to watch, and the momentum coming in with the Bengals right now, it's something that we really don't get to see. It's such a treat to go on to beat the best team in the league. They're repeating AFC champions over the past 3 years, and it's just so fun to see Goliath go down.
Yeah, I mean, I am so in on the Bengals. The Bengals, they're just how can you not love just a nice underdog story of the Bengals? I mean, they were a really good team in the regular season, but I didn't really think that they were going to make much noise in the playoffs. I was thinking win a playoff game, but not much outside of that. But they've proven me wrong, and now they're playing in the Super Bowl, which, as a Bengals fan, after all that you've suffered through, couldn't even fathom the fact that the Bengals are playing in the Super Bowl, but here they are.
Can't even fathom the fact that they, made the playoffs. Can't even fathom the fact
that they won that division.
Won the AFC North. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, it's just been a wild ride for the Bengals, and Joe Burrow's just been electric and so fun to watch. And he's really just taken the entire NFL, all NFL fans by storm. He's really just won all of their hearts, especially after, taking down the Chiefs that a lot of people have really soured on because they've just been so good for so long. And, yeah, we got a fresh face in the Super Bowl from the AFC.
Yeah. So, Joe Cool, we could talk about him all we want. He's been what everyone's talking about. Do you see that thing with Odell Beckham today? He's like,
what thing with Odell?
They asked him a question. They were like, hey, so what do you think about Joe Burrow? And they were like, they got the LSU connection.
Oh,
and
yes.
So he was
I think I did see this.
He was like, that kid is the coolest person I've ever met. But, never mind.
Getting an endorsement from Odell, that's legit.
That is legit. And especially you're going on to play him in the Super Bowl. It's like, that's respect. But you got Jamar Chase putting up 93 yards a game this postseason, averaging 14 on each reception. It's unbelievable how well this kid is doing, and he doesn't get enough props. And T. Higgins, too, right behind him. He's putting up 15 a carry and 69 per game. So you got so much of Burrow, but you also got so much of these receivers really doing their part as well.
Yeah, you talk about Jamar Chase. Jamar Chase is obviously the standout guy, but you got to give credit to guys like Tyler Boyd and T. Higgins. That's a really solid wide receiver core of those three guys. That's just been automatic for them, really. Joe Burrow has like anybody to depend on. Tyler Boyd was a big weapon for them last year and continues to make some decent plays this year. And T. Higgins is just always really there when you need him. He's always good for a big play. So T. Higgins has been really good, and the defense too. The defense.
That was unbelievable.
Yeah, in the second half of that Kansas City game, that defense looked really good, really strong. Especially, they were able to rebound after that tough first half where the Chiefs just scored all the time. So the fact that they were able to regroup and just keep the Chiefs in check, just really impressive.
Keep them in check and then just snap, just get them at the end. It was crazy because nobody really thought. I really didn't think that the Bengals would score a point, and I really didn't think that the Chiefs would not score a point in that second half.
Right.
And the fact that they were able to just come out there and hold them was so unbelievable, and that's why I say this momentum. The teams that make those runs in the playoffs are the teams that step it up at the end of the season, and they just carry that momentum in with them. So In one way or another, I feel like Los Angeles has just won 3 games in a row. Not that they have the juice, not that they have the momentum, but they've just simply won. They have momentum, but they've won 3 games in a row.
Right.
But the Bengals are just firing.
The Bengals, they're firing on all cylinders.
Train.
They're red hot. And, we'll segue into the Rams a little bit. You mentioned the Rams have won 3 straight, but. It hasn't exactly been like the prettiest ride. A really near collapse against Tom Brady and the Bucs. That's still something that's got to be fresh in your head. Their ability to really close out games, and you could argue that they really don't have much business being in this game, considering if Jaquiski Tartt on the Niners just catches that interception, it could be the Niners here instead.
Yeah. You're right, and you watching that play. I watched it a few times after. It's just like
heartbreaking.
It's like how
imagine being that guy.
Yeah.
Oh.
What were they? They were up 10 in the third quarter.
They were up 10 at the start of the fourth, but I think by that point they were up by 3. But obviously, a turnover would have been
turnover. That's it.
Oh,
that's really
momentum changing, game changing.
Yeah.
Bring the offense back on the field, and then I believe the Rams scored on that drive. Game changer. But yeah, the Rams have gotten a couple of breaks, but we can't deny the team that they have. They're stacked, and they have home field advantage.
They do, which is unbelievable that happened 2 years in a row.
That is crazy, but
very cool.
I call it like home field advantage because the Rams they don't have a lot of fans.
Of course,
they're not. Like let's be honest, there aren't going to be a lot of Ram fans packing SoFi Stadium.
Yeah, it'll be more celebrities than Ram fans, or celebrities that happen to be Ram fans.
Because that's what happens when you have a football team in LA.
Yeah,
and you saw the NFC Championship game. You didn't see the sea of red shirts that were in the crowd. It was all Niners fans.
What was that ploy that they did where they tried
to? Well, that was ridiculous.
That didn't work though, right?
They tried to block people from the San Francisco area from buying a ticket. And Yeah, it clearly worked really
work out
well.
for them at all.
I think they even like reversed it because of all the backlash. You know, Deebo Samuel came on and said, "Hey,
I'd be furious.
What's up with this?" Especially, yeah. But the Rams, it's a home game, but like, is it a home game? Not really. And also another thing, you see the rallies that the teams had like before they went to the game. So the Bengals hosted a ceremony at Paul Brown Stadium at their home field, and had a whole like ceremony like thank you for supporting us, now let's go win the Super Bowl, that type of deal. There were like 30,000 fans there. Like,
really?
they packed the house. And then you saw the difference with the Rams. It was just they went to like a high school and packed like high school bleachers. The amount of fans that were at each event was totally disproportionate.
That is yeah, no, it's crazy. And look, this is what I'm saying. When I say that they've won a few games, this is what I mean. I mean, they beat the Cardinals. Cardinals aren't, Cardinals are the Cardinals.
Yeah.
So, and the Bucs, they narrowly
they really did their best to lose that game.
Yes, they did. They it was crazy. And the Niners, like we said before, that Tartar,
one play could have changed that whole game.
So, also something that we have to bring up, Uzomah.
Oh, Uzomah? Yeah.
Uzomah.
I really hope he plays on Sunday.
Yeah.
I really hope he plays. I mean, that's got to be the worst.
A huge game changer if he does or doesn't.
Yeah, I think Uzomah's really good.
Yeah.
I think when he gets his opportunities to shine, he makes the most of it, and he can really be a weapon. But, we harp on the Rams a lot for, their fan base, whatever. Let's talk about the actual team, because this actual team is stacked with talent. Matthew Stafford's been a game changer.
Yep.
We're seeing that firsthand, what he's done and really brought up that team. Cooper Kupp's amazing. Cooper Kupp, setting records and doing all sorts of amazing things. They have Odell. Odell, is really kind of come back
emerged.
To form. Yeah. And also they have a good offensive line, and then that defense too. Obviously the playmakers there speak for themselves. Aaron Donald, Jalen Ramsey, Von Miller. It's just a who's who of talented guys and former All-Pros. It's just a really talented roster.
It's unbelievable. Cooper Kupp, I mean, he's averaging 128 a game in the playoffs. He's had 4 touchdowns in the playoffs, and he's averaging 15 a reception. It's unbelievable how much he's being able to support Matthew Stafford and likewise, plus like Odell. I mean, it's just crazy how those three together. I don't know if those three together are going to be able to beat the Higgins, Jamar, and Burrow, but that's why everyone's going to watch this game.
Yeah, well, personally, I'll just throw it out there. As a Giants fan, I'm rooting for Odell to get a ring. I've been so supportive of Odell and just very happy that he's proven that he's not washed and that he was not the problem. So
they freed him.
Yep, he's free and he's doing well.
Baker Mayfield must have just been.
Yeah, must be tough watching what Odell's doing right now. I mean, yeah, but Baker Mayfield just didn't work with him. But, we have this game coming up on Sunday. And the interesting thing I think that I'm looking forward to is how is this Bengals offensive line going to hold up against the Rams defensive front?
Great.
I don't think it's going to hold up very well.
Great point. What was it, 9
sacks
against the Titans. And that's the Titans.
That's the Titans. That's not Aaron Donald and Von Miller.
Aaron Donald, maybe the best player in the sport. That's going to be the matchup of the century. Him versus the offensive line.
Yeah. I mean, that's scary for Joe. If you're Joe Burrow, that's got to be concerning. But
frightening.
Yeah.
If he gets one good tackle on him, he can go out the whole game.
But not Joe Burrow was able to win a game being sacked 9 times.
That is very true.
That's also something you have to take into account. And the Bengals have had this underdog mentality, and they just keep winning games.
Yeah.
Just keeps happening. So we're running a little short on time. So before we go off the air, I'm just going to put you on the spot and ask you, Rams, Bengals, Sunday in the Super Bowl, who do you got?
I like the Bengals. It's a passion play. But I do like your point. As a Giants fan, Odell getting a ring.
Odell getting a ring.
That'd be really nice. So I think it's a win-win.
Well, it's tough for me. I have sentimental value on both sides. I have a friend who's a Bengals fan, and just
a friend who's a Bengals fan must be so nice.
Yeah, I mean, it's just unreal what's happening there, and And the Bengals they're just likable. How can you not like them? Joe Burrow's a great guy. And
I think in 4 years they're going to be unlikable.
Yeah.
They're
going to be real force in the AFC, and then with the Rams you have Odell.
Yeah.
That's really the only, and Matthew Stafford too.
He's
finally getting his chance to shine.
You got to feel for
but
Stafford.
In terms of my actual pick for the game, I'm going to take the Rams. I'm going with the Rams. I think they're loaded with talent, and I easily could have seen them as a Super Bowl favorite at the start of the season, and now they're there. I think they're just going to take it, and if you're the Rams, you have to win now because you've put so much into this team with the terms of trading draft picks and everything. Yeah, I'm going to give it to the Rams, but that will do it for tonight's show. We had a great time. We had a lot to cover, and we got all through it, but that'll wrap it up. The sports director of WFUV is Bobby Chaffardini. Huge shout-outs to our producers, our radio producer, Will Talent, and our video producer, Sam Hoke. If you missed any of tonight's show, you can catch it on demand on our YouTube channel. You can check out clips from tonight's episode and any episode of 101 on our channel. So, from Will Grant, I'm Brian Rayback saying thank you for listening to 101 Nightly, and of course, 101 Nightly is a production of WFUV Sports.